All right, I am back from the 49ers locker room after that 28-18 loss to the Chiefs. The top news is that the 49ers fear that Brandon Aiyuk tore his ACL on that catch with heavy contact in the first half. Now, they fear that because that's what all the initial tests that the trainers perform with their hands have indicated. Now the MRI has to be undergone. That's going to happen tomorrow, and that can confirm it. In the past, initial fears have been proven to be wrong, so there is a chance that it's not a torn ACL at this point, but it likely is based on what the 49ers know. So immediately you look at how shorthanded San Francisco was in this football game at the skill receiving positions. Deebo Samuel woke up extremely sick today, and according to Kyle Shanahan, he was having trouble breathing. And as soon as he was having trouble breathing and they had to put him on the oxygen, it was decided, okay, let's just shut him down for the day. So game plan was definitely Deebo Samuel heavy. That hurt the 49ers. That forced Ricky Pearsall, who was making his NFL debut, into greater action as soon as Deebo Samuel wasn't able to play. And then when Brandon Aiyuk maybe tore his ACL, we'll see, in the first half, that forced Pearsall into an even greater role. Remember, the 49ers already missing Christian McCaffrey, who was out on the field before the football game. Probably after the bye week is when we can expect him to come back from the Achilles. And they were already missing Jawan Jennings, who was ruled out of this game with a hip injury. Jennings, Shanahan hopes, will be back next week, which is the one piece of positive news to come out of the pressers today for the 49ers, because everything else was San Francisco just trying to pick up the pieces after a very discouraging loss to Kansas City. But the lack of skill position weapons certainly showed today. This was Brock Purdy's worst career game statistically. The rating, I believe, in the 30s, obviously the 3 interceptions. In the instant reaction, I guessed, because I didn't know. I obviously was going to go try to find out what the 49ers said. I guessed that the second interception to Ronnie Bell was Bell's fault, that he stopped running the route. But according to Shanahan and Brock Purdy, unless they're just covering for Ronnie Bell, it was on Brock Purdy. I know the first interception was on Purdy, and then that last one, well, that's tough. That's probably on Colton McKivitz for letting George Karlaftis run the clean spin move by him. And by that point, by the third one, the 49ers were so down all these skill position weapons. We talk about the difficulty of separating against the Kansas City Chiefs. There was nobody open. It was third down, essentially a desperation down for the 49ers, down 9 points, nobody open. Karlaftis beats Colton McKivitz and hits Purdy as he throws, and that was that. So, but a bad game, no question, not just for Purdy, but for the entire offense. As Kyle Shanahan said today, the offense did nothing right. He also said, no way to sugarcoat it, we got our ass kicked today. That was true. I would say that the overarching feel from the locker room talk and also from the press conferences is that the 49ers thought their defense did some good things. You saw Malik Mustafa with a missile-like stop early on Kareem Hunt. Deommodore Lenoir with the pick against Patrick Mahomes. And then the first pick, Kalia Davis, what a play. Tipped the ball to himself. Thought the defense actually, it could have been a whole lot uglier given how little support they got. But the fact that they got no complimentary support for the offense, took over a quarter for the 49ers to pick up their first down without the help of a penalty. They couldn't pick up a yard when they needed to. One of 10 before garbage time for the 49ers on third down. Kansas City was 8 of 14. It's a big difference in those two numbers. You're not going to win football games if your offense is struggling as much as it did today. And, regardless of whether or not it was Ronnie Bell's fault or Brock Purdy's fault, that was just one of the plays that the offense failed to execute on today. Handful of them are Brock, probably most of the blame goes to Brock Purdy. Then there's the interior line, the first holding penalty for Jake Brendel that put the 49ers behind the sticks. Just watch the game. The Chiefs consistently stayed ahead of the sticks. The 49ers consistently found themselves behind the sticks, especially early in this game when the tone was being set. Jordan Mason had 13 carries for 32 yards on the carries that weren't his 26-yarder there in the second half. So most of the game, Jordan Mason was bottled up. Interior couldn't block well. Chris Jones lined up at the start over Aaron Banks. I'm going to have to watch the tape of this game to see where Jones lined up the most. But when push came to shove, San Francisco whether it be through some of the injuries, and there were a lot of them, or through some of the matchups, and those obviously weren't favorable. The Chiefs were also choking off the outside zone. When push came to shove, they just couldn't produce offensively. And no matter how many nice plays they did make defensively, they could never string those together. Somebody said it was the offense that let the defense and the special teams down. I think it was George Kittle. Special teams let everybody down again, though, with the punt return at an inopportune time in the first half that the Chiefs were able to get. San Francisco just lost. And, these overreactions, they're going to be ridiculous this week. No, this is not a take on Brock Purdy's job security. Already people I've seen, Dobbs has got to be the quarterback. I swear, NFL fandom is the most overreactive fandom of any major sport. Brock Purdy's playing good football this year. He didn't play good football today. Under very harsh circumstances, he still had a chance there to give the 49ers the lead at 14-12 after he'd run for that touchdown. It was the score following the Lenore pick, and he didn't get it done today. And neither did several other components of the offense, from Shanahan to the offensive line, to Jordan Mason, to Brandon Aiyuk, who unfortunately might have torn his ACL, but also dropped a pass. Perfect pass from Purdy that very well could have changed this game. Drop it with the overreactions. The 49ers are 3-4. I think it still looks like they're the best team in the NFC West, based on what they did to Seattle last week, unless you think that Arizona could make some kind of run. But everything is still in front of the 49ers this year. They just need it, and they still need to string wins together. But it's not too late to string wins together. Kansas City happened to be standing in the way of the 49ers and starting to string some wins together. Unfortunately for San Francisco, they couldn't get it done. If they are fortunate enough and good enough, and if they turn it around to the point again where they can face Kansas City later this year, it would have to be obviously in the Super Bowl. They're going to hope that they're a little bit better stocked at the skill position spots. Yeah, it's likely that Brandon Aiyuk wouldn't be available for such a game, but there's a whole other laundry list of guys that weren't available here. But you can't think about that. You got to think about this 1 week at a time. You have to turn around and see what you can do against the Cowboys. You have to flush it quick. The 49ers were 3-4 after losing on this field by a lot more to the Chiefs in 2022. And they ended up in the NFC Championship game and probably would have won that game had Brock Purdy not torn the UCL, his elbow. So same exact situation record-wise with a loss to Kansas City happened in 2022. Now they're 3-4, and the simple truth is they've got a bye after next week. The Cowboys aren't playing great football, but the Cowboys will come in here a little bit better rested than the 49ers, and San Francisco has to find a way to win. And then they'll go into the bye, and then you could start talking about returning Christian McCaffrey. We'll see what the injury report firmly is from this game tomorrow. They do expect Juwan Jennings to be back next week. It's a long novel, and you just have to keep on chopping wood. The 49ers have not broken through as far as showing any consistency yet. They haven't won 2 consecutive games yet this season. And they show a lot of signs of being a team with too many key vulnerabilities to compete for it all. But you don't know that for sure, especially if you look at the Niners of 2021 and 2022, even 2023 when they lost 3 straight games at this time of the year. You don't know that for sure until the season has some more time to develop. But those vulnerabilities, the inability to run efficiently, I mean, the interior run, it was really, really tough sledding for the 49ers against a good defense today. The inability to put together more than 1 consecutive game and of flawless special teams, you've got to be able to do that at some point. 49ers definitely aren't doing that. And, I don't want to say it's an inability because I think any team would struggle given the loss of skill position weapons. Any quarterback would struggle given what the 49ers were working with skill position-wise today. But the inability to just stay out of their own way turnover-wise in games where you know that, okay, you're shorthanded, you don't have as much firepower as normal, just hold serve. Live to fight another down. Kick a field goal. When it was 14-12, field goal's okay in that situation. You just can't turn the ball over. And whether it was Purdy's fault or Bell's fault, they said it was Purdy's fault in the locker room, you can't turn it over in that spot. Simple as that. I know Mahomes didn't play a clean game today. He had 2 picks as well. But the Chiefs came through at the critical junctures more often than the 49ers, which, I'll say it again, I know you guys hate me saying this, but That's why I picked the Chiefs to win. They have the track record of coming through at critical junctures. 49ers this year, they still have to show and develop that. And how they do that is going to determine where this 2024 story ends. The story is far from over. They're 3-4. They can be in first place in the division at the bye week. They can be at 500 at the bye week. They'll be favored to do so over the Cowboys. So it's going to be important that the 49ers pack this one up far into the past and move forward to Dallas next week after a very, very tough loss to the Chiefs. We'll see you guys soon.